I had red hair, so I always got the, oh, do the drapes match the carpet?
Ew. What stands out to me are the angry wives.
Squeezed my arm and was like out of his seat, leaned over the table.
I would have freaked out.
Titty lag! And she's like waving in every guy's face.
Hi everyone, it's me, Krystal, one of your hosts from Changing 100. I'm just here to intro the episode. If you listen to the first part of episode 2, you know that I had to slide in and end the episode. So I'm here to slide back in and intro this episode. Welcome to Changing 100. Make sure you subscribe to our channel on YouTube. You follow us on all podcasting platforms and enjoy the episode.
The mob would go 8 feet out from the dirt road, and they would bury you 6 feet under.
Oh, hell yeah, I love that.
So it's an old mob term because Vegas was built by the mob.
Yes, it was.
The old mafia. And so it was a mob term. If you got 86th from a property, you would go 8 feet out from the main dirt road, 6 feet underground.
That's amazing.
Fun fact of the day.
I learned something today. I remember once upon a time, I was like, I'm going to learn how to count. And I tried, and I was like, this is too much.
I would love to learn, but it's hard, especially if you're dealing 8 decks, 6 decks. It's hard.
But that is why they started the 6 deck, 8 deck, and the continuous shuffle machines is to...
I hate those machines.
I hate continuous
Cosmo
shuffle.
has those machines.
You never stop dealing.
No, I remember I went in, and I was like, no, I'll just wait for the end of the shoe. And they were like, it doesn't end.
Yeah.
And I was like, what? Because I just didn't want to mess up the 2 guys that were playing. It was like a $25 table minimum.
I can't believe
I was like, I'm going to play 25.
Continuous shufflers.
All of these guys were playing like $200-$300 hands. I was like, no, I don't want to mess you up. I was trying to be nice. I was like, no, I don't want to mess you up. Like, I'll wait till the end of the shoe. And they're like, there is no ends. And I'm like, what? I was confused. I didn't understand. And they were like, it continuously shuffles. And I looked at the machine and I was like, what the fuck? And every time she like burned the cards, it would just go in the back and it would keep shuffling.
It keeps going.
Like,
I hate those machines. As a dealer, I hate those machines because you don't ever get a break.
Yeah.
Right? With our shufflers, you have to take it out.
Second, to take it out. Someone cuts. You get to talk to everybody. People go to the bathroom. You have a second as a dealer to be like, all right, fuck.
Yeah, I'm going to go real slow changing this deck out because I need a second.
Yeah.
I need a minute.
Sometimes you need a little bit of a break. It's tough.
Yeah, but, I hate continuous shufflers.
Yeah.
Anyways.
I didn't know that was a thing until I went to Cosmo that one day, and I was like, oh.
I can't believe Cosmo has continuous
Cosmo,
shufflers.
I know, of all places.
I
feel like that would be like a Silver Sevens thing.
Yeah. Or like a downtown property. Like, smaller
like
action.
Casino.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they're just trying to keep it moving. Yeah. But I mean, that was just on the floor. I wasn't in high limit or anything.
But even then,
so just on the floor. No, I know, same. Because I sat down at the table and these guys, there was 2 guys there and they were playing like $200-$300 hands.
That's crazy.
So I'm like, you have a continuous
I can't believe
shuffler.
they were playing
but also,
there.
What also is nice about having an end shuffler is that if it's a god awful shoe and you're just killing them, you have a second to be like, okay, this one's gonna be better.
Right. You're like the next one, guys.
The next one, we got this. Like,
or you blame shoes, the player. Like, you're like, you're not cutting this time. I'm gonna let him cut, or I'll cut.
I'll do that same thing. I'll be like, so he's not allowed to cut anymore. Noted. Thank you. Let's move on. Or I'll be like, you're bad luck. Or what I love to say to players, I'll be like, okay, guys, positive thoughts. I'll be like, kittens, puppies, cookies, titties, alcohol. Like, positive thoughts here. We're thinking good things. We're thinking good money. Like, let's win. And then you have that chance to
just refresh.
Redo the thing. But when you're just have a continuous shuffler,
you never stop. It's exhausting. Yikes. I could feel myself sweating just thinking about it.
So a majority of our players are men. But I love when a woman sits down. Here's my favorite thing in the world. I've had this happen to me maybe 3 times. So when I'm playing with a table of men and a woman comes and sits down, she throws $1,000 at the table. Mm-hmm. All of my men are playing table minimum. Mm-hmm. She throws $1,000 down. I cut her all the big chips. She starts playing big chips like over all these men and she's killing it. And I'm just like, yeah. I fucking love it because it's so rare.
It is rare.
It's rare, and I'm just like, fuck yeah, girl, you go. Like, you go. Especially just, like, all these stupid men, right, who are like, and I used to have red hair.
Oh, yeah.
I had red hair, so I always got the, oh, do the drapes match the carpet?
Ew.
But You can't come up with something better. You really can't come up with something better. Or like men who would come stare, and I'd be like, "You want to play?"
Oh my goodness!
And they'd be like,
every
"I just
day.
love a redhead." I'm like, "Don't we all sit down?"
Yeah.
Right.
At least give me something for this.
Something to play. Like, come on, don't just stare at me. Like, interact.
Yeah.
We're adults. Here
At least let's have a conversation.
Because
Like,
we work at a 21 plus casino. So when
Yeah,
you
we
walk in the
do.
door, they card you. They card you at the door.
well, I mean, in general, you can't be on the casino floor unless you're 21, no matter where. So
Right. But I know for a fact that everyone who's coming to my table's an adult.
for sure,
Right.
at least 21.
There's only been one time that I'm like, I need to see your ID because
Really?
you look like a baby. Like,
Actually, yeah, there have been a couple
they
times.
literally look like they were
do,
12, and
like,
I was like, I'm so sorry.
The double take, you're like,
I was like, I'm
should
so
ask.
sorry. And you know what's funny is my floor came up to me afterwards and was like, hey, you know they card them at the door. I was like, do you see this human being?
He's 12.
I was like,
Literally 12.
they're 12 years old. I was going to check their ID because did you have a fake ID in high school, college? No? Okay. I had like 3.
Yeah.
So I know what to look for to see if your ID was fake or not. And
Yeah,
some of those fake IDs will scan.
Yes, they will. Yes,
And I'm
they
going to look to
will.
see if yours is fake or not because the guy at the door who's scanning 1,000 people a night isn't looking to see. And if you sit at my table and you look 12, I'm going to look at your ID to see if it's fake or not.
Because guess what? If you get caught, I get fired. And the casino has to pay what, minimum $10,000, I think?
Yeah, and I lose my gaming license and I can't work at any casino
Any
ever
casino.
in Vegas, not even cocktailing, not even bartending, not even doing anything.
Nothing. So guess what?
I'm
I need to
checking
see your
your
ID.
But I've only had to do it one time. But I love when women sit down at my table and they come in and they boss bitch that shit. And I'm like, fuck yeah, girl, you go.
Right?
And I think my favorite story of a woman was I was dealing free bet blackjack. It was her like bridette? No. Bachelorette. Why did I say bridette? I'm so sorry. Her bachelorette party. She had like rhinestones on her chest. She had like all this glitter. Her girls were coming in and out checking at her. She had like a mound of chips, but they weren't stacked. It was just a mound, which is rare for a woman, right?
Yeah.
It wasn't like stacked nicely. And she was betting $50 a hand for me.
For you?
For me, she was playing $50 a hand for me. She was playing like 50, 75, 100. And she was absolutely killing it. And she was playing wild.
Was she all over the place?
She was all over the place.
She was going off the ceiling?
Yes.
Okay, love
and
that.
I had 3 other men sitting at my table. So I had a table of 4 people. It was her and 3 other guys. And she was like shaking her titties at everyone's face. I would let her cut every time, right? Because my rule when I come to a blackjack table, the women always cut first. If there's multiple women at the table, I either go oldest to youngest. And if you look like you're the same age, I go from who's betting the most to who's betting the least.
Yeah.
So I go women to men, who's betting the most, betting to least, or oldest to youngest.
Yep.
Depending on what my
honestly
table looks
what I
like.
do.
That's just my personal.
I do the same thing.
Because I'm not just going to let some young buck cut if I have some guy over here who looks like he's 50 and he's playing $300 a hand. He's cutting first if I just come to the table, right? So I'm letting her cut because she's the only woman at the table. And she's taking the cut card. And you're not allowed to do this, so don't do this. But she's like rubbing it against her tits. And she's like, titty lock. And she's like waving it in every guy's face and making them blow on it. You're not supposed to
talk about controlling the game.
You're not supposed to do that. But she was paying $50 a hand for me.
I would have been living. I would have been like, yeah. Shimmying with her.
Yes, I was. I was shimmying with her and everything. And she was killing it. Like, she was winning. She was playing wild shit. Like, she was doubling on hard 12s. When I had a 2 showing, she would double on hard 12. She was hitting 17s randomly. Like, she was wild. But the whole table was winning because she was saving every hand.
Was she third base?
No, she was in the middle.
Oh, she was in the middle.
I had 2. I had 1 and 2. She was 3, and I had 4. And then 5 and 6 were empty.
Oh, wow. Usually third base can get a little wild because they control the outcome.
They save the game, right? So she was killing it, and she just was like having the time of her life, and she loved me, and her girls would come check on me, and she was ordering shots for the table, and clearly she was plastered, and she just had a mound of chips, and she was tipping me a ton of money. And then at the end of my hour with her, she had to leave, and she was clearly very, very drunk, and I colored her up, and I think I'd made easily $1,000 off of her in like the hour, which I'm sharing among all these girls, right? So I'm not making $1,000, but that's a lot of money in one hour to make.
Heck yeah, it is. That's a lot.
And like at the end, she like threw me like $200-$300 more.
Oh, and she threw more.
Love
her. She needs to come back.
and then all the guys left, and I had an empty table. But she was phenomenal.
I love that so much.
That was my favorite one. And then recently, I've had a regular who's been here for like 2-3 months, who's working on the Sphere.
Oh, she's working on it.
She's working on the Sphere. She's from California.
Working in what capacity?
So she works for Madison Square Garden, which I didn't know, but owns the Sphere.
I did not know that either.
I didn't know that. And she's in charge of, she's told me before and I can't remember it, like technical production or something. Mm-hmm. So she's been in Vegas for like 3 months.
So the Sphere, for people who don't know, because the Sphere is relatively new.
It's
even
new,
for people who live here. I barely went and saw the Sphere.
Everyone has seen reels of it by now,
but they don't know what it is. The Sphere is a sphere out by the Strip. It's not on the Strip. It's just right off of it.
It's a circular building.
Yeah.
And it's an arena. Mm-hmm. And the way it's formed, it's literally formed in a giant ball. Look it up. It's like the Sphere Las Vegas. I'm sure you'll see reels of it and stuff. And the whole outside is an LED screen. So they have it shaped as the moon. They had it shaped as an
eyeball.
Basketball
was for Summer League.
Because it technically released on 4th of July.
Mm-hmm.
So they had a firework display
firework show
go off on it. It's really beautiful. It's really creative and amazing.
It is breathtaking. Have you driven by it?
I haven't yet.
It is breathtaking. It's one thing to see it, and then you get up close to it, and you're like, wow.
Yeah.
It's really breathtaking. I've gone 3 times. I went once because I was like, I need to go see this thing. It came out 4th of July. I let it go 2-3 weeks.
Premiered 4th of July. It's not open yet. It's not open to the public.
No, it's not open. Not yet.
But the entire outside structure is an LED screen.
Yeah.
So for the 4th of July, they had a fireworks show on their LED
and I wanted
screen.
to see it. And I didn't see it. So I gave it like 3 weeks, I think. And I feel like I was late going to the Sphere as a local. And I finally went out there, and then I went 2 weekends in a row afterwards because it is so really pretty.
It really is. It's amazing.
The tech is mind-blowing. Yes. Like, you get up close to it and you're like, I can't believe this is real.
Yeah.
Like, how did they do this?
It's a really nice addition to Las Vegas and a really nice addition to our skyline.
I love that. And you have a player?
But it's an arena. Yeah, so I have a regular who's been here for like 2-3 months. Mm-hmm. She just got extended another month, which she's not happy about, but she's here, she's working. And she plays roulette with me, and she plays 3 numbers. She plays 4, 22, and 4, 22 are her 2 main numbers, and then every once in a while she'll play like 17, 20.
Who is she? Have I seen her?
Probably. I'm sure if I pointed her out to you. But those are her like numbers. She plays 4 and 22. And then she plays the splits around it. So if she hits either of those numbers, she hits a big payout. But she knows how to play roulette. She comes in, she plays her numbers, she buys in $100. She either wins or she loses. She walks away.
I think I know who it is now.
But she's great, and she's super nice. She's super friendly. She's super friendly to all my other players always, and she's a great tipper. And I think those are my 2 favorites.
Female players
I've had.
I honestly, because of the ratio, I don't have any memorable women players. Mm. I really don't. Like, just off the top of my head, I don't have any women that stand out. What stands out to me are the angry wives. That's what unfortunately, to me, there are 2, maybe there's more. To me, there are 2 types of wives. They're the ones that full well. Their husbands are coming in to have a good time, and they're like, go for it, honey. Have a good time.
Those are the best.
Yeah. They're the ones that come to the table like, did you tip her? Love those wives.
Yes. I can't wait to be one of those wives, to be honest.
Then the other wives who are just staring daggers at us, and they're telling their husbands, are you done yet? Are you done yet? You lost that much money?
How much did you buy in? And then they go to the bathroom, and they're like, come on. The husband is always like, come on.
Yeah.
Like, let's get these hands out. And they'll like triple their bets, or they'll buy in. Mm-hmm. They'll buy in more money, and they'll be like, here, change this before my wife comes back. And I'm like, bet.
Yeah, we're going as fast as we can.
Come on.
Because remember, we're always on your side.
Always. We're always on your side. Wife or not, we are on your side. On your side.
Unfortunately, yeah, that's the
But I feel like those women don't typically play.
No, they don't play.
The women that come in and play, I love. Even if you're new and you come to my roulette table and you're like, I've never played before and I have a full table, I'm like, sit down. I'll deal with the heat from my boss upstairs. I will teach you how to play. Like, anytime a woman comes to my table, I'm all for it.
Oh, yeah, me too.
I'm all for it.
I love it because it's rare.
One, it's rare. 2, it takes a lot for a woman to gamble in general. 3, it takes a lot for a woman to gamble in a party pit.
Yes.
Because the majority of the time, it's women.
Yeah.
Who are, like, good-looking and young and this, that, blah, 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 all this, right? So I just love it. If you come to my table and you're like, I've never played before, I'm like, sit down. I have all the time in the world for you.
All of it. Same.
And when I go on break, honey, you go to the bathroom, go to the bar. I'll be at this table in 20 minutes. Come back.
Yeah.
Come play with
me. So we rotate as dealers, if you don't know. So yeah,
at
if my
casino,
players,
we rotate. Yeah.
If we are really vibing with certain players, I'll tell them like, hey, I'm going over there next if you want to come follow.
I'll tell players a specific time. I'll be like, okay, at 11:40, I'll be at this table right here, right behind me. Come to this table.
Yeah.
And if I don't see you, I'm going to be looking for you.
Yeah. I'm going to wave you on. I'm over here.
Yes. Yes. And you'll have players that'll like follow you around for sure. So I have 2 horror stories, but they're like really the 2 stories that stick out the most in my brain.
Okay.
For players. And as in the 2.5 years that I have worked, I think it's just me personally, to be honest. Like, I just don't take things seriously. I have really thick skin and things don't bother me so much. But I feel like in the 2.5 years that I've been dealing, I've only had 1 serious asshole.
Okay.
Okay.
Did he throw things at you?
He didn't. He didn't. But we were on roulette, and I went to snap the ball. And snapping the ball is a technique that they use, that they try and teach you so you don't hurt your wrist. Because if you're flicking the ball like this, you're hurting your wrist after a while. Because how many times are you doing this a night? Like a ton. So they teach you to snap the ball. Everybody does it differently. So I hold it in my fingers, and I literally snap my fingers.
Okay.
And it's called snapping the ball. So I snap my fingers, and the ball like spins. Some girls hold it in 2 fingers, and they do it like chopsticks. Some girls hold it in like their pointer.
Yeah,
it
I've
like
seen
just
that.
Kinda, yes, it's just kind of depending on how you work. But I hold it like in between. I hold the ball here in between my middle finger and thumb, and then I put my pointer finger on the outside so it doesn't fly out a way that I don't want it to fly out. Yeah. However, it's not 100% accurate. I've seen girls who have been dealing for 9 years still flick the ball out of the wheel. 9 years of experience every single day, 40 hours a week, 8 hours a day, spinning this ball, and they still flick it out of the wheel. It just happens.
Yeah, there's some people who do it at least once a night.
Right.
It's just like one of those things.
It is. It just happens. Like, there's a girl, and she's a liability to the company, and at least 3 times a night, the ball's flying out of the wheel. Like, and I just know it's her. So I had this player. He had it all, I think, on like black. He had like $600 on black. So I go to snap the ball, and instead of spinning nicely, it bounces like a rabbit. And I say no spin. So I go like this. I say no spin. I catch the ball, and I respin it. Now what I learned after is when a no spin happens, you're supposed to stop, ask if everybody wants to leave their bets or change their bets.
Okay.
And then you respin it.
Okay, I didn't know that.
So,
okay.
Yes. So what I did was I said no spin. I caught the ball because it was like bouncing around the wheel. It wasn't spinning. I caught the ball and I respun it. And he's like, you're not supposed to do that. Like, you can't just stop the ball. I was like, it wasn't going to spin anyway. Do you want to remove your bet? Because there's lots of time. I gave him lots of time. And he was like, well, no, it's already there, but you can't just stop the ball mid-spin. I was like, it wasn't spinning. Do you want to remove your bet? He said, no. So I said, okay. I waved the table, said no more bets, landed on whatever the opposite color was that he was betting. He lost his bet. He was like, fuck you. The B word, the F word, the C word. He was like, call your pit boss, this, that. So I'm like, all right, whatever, bro. Call my pit boss over. Tell him what happened. He's talking on the floor. He's like, hey, man, like, she called no spin. She gave you time to remove your ball, remove your bet.
Your bet, yeah.
You didn't remove it, whatever. So he's like, whatever. Buys in another $600.
Of course he does.
places it.
That's the wild thing.
That's the wild thing, right? Places his bet, spin the ball. He's still cussing at me, calling me words after he buys in. And I'm just like, whatever, I'm rolling my eyes, right? Like, I'm like, cool, you're $1,200 in. Like,
yeah, at this
you know how much money I touch a night?
Right. At
like,
this point,
so
you're
cool.
like, give me more money. Let me take more money.
I'm like, let me take it all, right?
Yeah.
So I'm like, you're betting red. Typically, I spin black. I'm like, I'm going to take another $600 from you. You're calling me all these names. I don't give a fuck. Spin the ball. It's rolling. Wave the table. He wins. So he wins his money back that he just lost. Okay? He's still calling me names. And I'm like, okay, bro. Like, I get it, the first one, whatever. But I gave him time, and I asked him twice. I said, do you want to remove your bet? You have time. Do you want to remove it? I asked him twice. And you can see it on the camera because I'm like, it's still spinning. Do you want to take your money back? And I'm very animated with my motions.
And this is what I mean.
For that reason, I say, it's still spinning. You want to take it back?
When
and
we're
I'm going
in those
like
situations, all of a sudden, we're doing all the things because we
things,
know those cameras. Yeah.
Yes. And we were wearing masks at the time.
Okay.
So I take my mask off when I'm talking to him. I pull my mask down because we were COVID. I took my mask down and I'm like, the ball's still spinning. You want to take your bet back? I'm like doing all the motions so the cameras can see that I'm telling him, you still have time to remove your bet. He's like, no. So he wins his money back. He places, like, he takes 600, he leaves 600. I spin it again. He calls me the C word. And I immediately push his bet back and I wave the table. Say, no more bets. And then he's livid because I'm like, what are you doing, bro? Like, you had plenty of time. You are still calling me names after you won your money back. Yeah. Who knows how much money you lost before I came up to this table. You already won your money back. You're playing again. I've been extremely nice to you.
Very nice, because I wouldn't have let him stay at that table. You've done
nice.
way better than me.
The B word. You're calling me the C word. You're yelling at me. You're like, fuck this, fuck that, do this, do that, like, do this. You say, fuck this fucking cunt. I'm taking all this money in the rack. I push your bet back. I wave the table. And now he's livid. He's like, let me talk to your manager. And I'm like, call the manager.
Yeah, get the manager.
Because I'm like, call the manager. And I'm like, and while you're at it, because I'm friends with all the security guards. And I'm friends with all the security guards. I'm like, while you're at it, call this person too.
Yeah.
So my floor calls my manager to come down to review all the tapes. Calls my manager to come down. Calls security, asks for this specific person. So this specific person comes into the pit to talk to me. And I'm like, yo, this is what happened. He won his money back. He's still cussing at me. It's 3 spins later. He just called me the C word 4 times. I'm over it. I want him off my table. Yeah. And he's like, all right, Tori. So he takes him off my table. And it's this whole scene. Like, she's this, she's that. She didn't let me bet. She stopped the ball mid-spin. All this stuff.
That's when I smile and I go, bye.
No, for real. That's literally what I was doing. I was like, okay. I was like, okay. And, like, my friend, who's like, a manager of security, he's like, you can't talk to my dealers that way. I don't care what you lost. You have to leave my casino. He's staying on property.
Oh, God.
They end up kicking him out of his hotel room.
Oh, wow.
Because he wouldn't stop.
Oh, okay.
And he kept coming back to my table. And, of course, your bet's placed. I have to spin the ball. It's my job to spin the ball. So I'd spin the ball. He'd call me a name. I think this happened like 3 times before somebody finally came into the pit. And I'd push it back. I'd wave the table immediately so he couldn't play. And that was the one asshole I had in the 2.5 years of working there.
That
in the
is,
party pit.
That's pretty bad.
My manager came up to me and was like, hey, so what happened? He was saying that you didn't give him time to remove his bet. And I was like, no, what happened was I spun the ball. Instead of spinning, it bounced like a rabbit. I caught the ball, respun it. And I said, do you want to remove your bet? You have time. Do you want to remove it? And I asked him twice. And she was like, okay, I just haven't pulled the camera video yet, but I'm sure you're fine. But he's like raging, of course. And I'm like, okay, well, you let me know. And then they never came back. But I was like, this is why I won. This is why you're always friends with security guards.
Always.
Because I told my floor, I was like, while you're calling our manager, will you call this person too?
Yeah, might as well just bring
call security and ask for this person. Tell them Tori needs this person.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what he did. And he came down and they had my back. And I was like, thank you.
I love that. Thank you. Okay. Now that you said that story, it brings me back to, it wasn't an irate customer. All right, I'll give you two too. This is a short one. This was at downtown. I'm not going to say the property. This guy has played on my table a couple times. The first time, he went a little crazy. He's one of those slam his hand on the table, slams the table.
Okay.
Only when he loses. When he wins, he's fine. Actually, there's another player I can think of now. Now it's all coming back
I think
to
I
me.
have like 10 in my head, but I will only tell 2 right now.
I gave him a pass because after the first couple times where he hit the table and said, fuck you, I don't know how many times. And I was just like, okay, I'm just going to let him maybe like mad. 3 times, right? Yeah. And then he left. So I was like, fine, good riddance. I don't know how much time passed, a couple weeks, a month, I don't know. Here he is on my table. He's the only player this time. Oh. He comes, he places his bet. I'm ready.
You're like, I remember you.
He plays, he loses, he smacks the table. And I go, I'm going to give you 1. That's all I said to him. That's your 1. He puts his money back on there. I flip the cards. He loses. He bangs the table where I says, fuck you. And I go, we're done here. I was like, I'm done. I'm not dealing to you. And he goes, deal the cards. And I go, no.
Yeah.
I just went, no, I'm not dealing to you. Called my floor over. I was like, this guy is being too much. He said, fuck you to me. I'm not dealing to him. Get me off the game or get him off the game.
Right.
They kicked him out.
Yep.
Bye-bye. Have a good night, sir.
Because we understand you're losing money, but you're also dealing with a person in the service industry. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, like, if you're losing money and you can't, like we said earlier, if you're losing money and you can't handle it, you shouldn't be gambling.
Exactly. And that's not our problem.
That's not our problem. That doesn't give you the right to say, fuck you. That doesn't give you the right to call us the B word, the C word, the anything.
Yeah. So there's another player, same thing, short story, same type of vibe, except this guy threw chips when he lost at us. And
I stacked it, put it in my tips. I'd have been like, you throwing
that's
money
what
at
I
me?
Did. Well, the thing is that I think he got smarter about it because he would throw chips on the ground and we can't pick up stuff from the ground.
Right.
So the first time he did it, some chips landed on my table and I picked them all up and I put them in. Thank you. Right. I put them in my tote box. But then the second time he left screaming and cursing at me. He threw all of his chips on the floor, but it's funny to me. I don't care. I also have thick skin. You're not going to scare me. You're not going to make me cry. If that's the point, if that's what you're trying to do. What was hilarious, I start laughing. He's already like walked away enough to where I can start laughing and not get in trouble. Because there's players walking by going, oh, look, $25 chips. And they're picking them up off the floor.
Yes, good for them. Good for them.
And I was like, I'm not saying anything.
I'd be like, hey, you see that money? That's yours. Take it.
You dropped some money.
You dropped some chips on the floor.
Yeah, so I've definitely had, I think because I've been dealing a little bit longer than you.
Yeah.
And it does happen, not often, but it does happen where you do have players like that.
Yeah.
I kind of just write them off now in my brain. I'm just like, it's one of those players. I don't even think about it. But yeah. What's your second story?
So my second story is when I had first started. I think I was only working there like a month.
Oh, and no, again, like, baby dealer.
I've worked in strip clubs.
But you have the experience.
I've worked nightlife.
Of that, yeah.
I've participated in nightlife. Mm-hmm. I had friends who worked in nightlife who would call me and be like, yo, I have a tough client. Will you just come and sit with him? Like, that was me to my friends. Like, mm-hmm. I would show up because I could talk to anybody. And anytime there's somebody weird or difficult, they'd call me and they'd be like, yo, I'm at Marquee. Yeah. Can you come talk to this guy? Like, he keeps bothering me. I have other clients. So I'd be like, yeah. So I would go because I liked partying and I liked being drunk and I liked being lit. So I'd go and I'd talk to these weird ass men and that's what I would do. So I had this older guy at my table and I was like a month in. And I have experience with difficult men. I have tough skin. Like, I'm really not afraid of you. So he's this older guy playing. And we used to have masseuse.
Oh,
women.
You did? Oh,
we used to have masseuse people that would go by so you could pay them to get a massage at your table as you're playing. We don't have them anymore, but we used to. He was playing with his friend. He was probably in his, 50s easily. I had red hair at the time. And he's like, me and you would make beautiful babies.
Oh, no.
And I was
not the beautiful baby line.
I was like, oh, really? He's like, me and you would have great sex, I promise. And I'm like,
oh, that's when we're done.
And I was like, well, those are some bold statements there. Like, and I just, that's how I interact with men. I'm like, oh, really? Like, I just blow it to the side. And I think I told him, I was like, well, that was a bold statement. And he was like, yeah. So his dude who's playing with him is like, bro, she just got to the table. Like, will you relax? Like, I don't know if he was drunk. I don't know what. He was a good looking dude. Like, he had a nice beard. He was well taken care of. He was super fit. Like, he looked good for his age. And he, like, will not let it go.
Oh, no.
And I can't remember what I said, but I think I responded to something. And he was like, oh, we'll do the curtains match the carpet or something. And I have, like, a real slick answer for that. So I gave him my answer, which will have to be on the Patreon one day. But I, like, gave him my answer to it. And he grabbed me by the arm, girl. Like, literally, like this. The fire. Like, squeezed my arm. And was, like, out of his seat, leaned over the table. Like,
I would have freaked out. I would have been like, sir?
Squeezing my arm. The massage lady stopped, and she's, like, looking at me because she's like,
what do I do? Oh, do you need help?
I'm like, yeah. She's like, do you need help? Are you okay? And I'm like, you have to let go of me. Like, and I'm not freaking out or anything.
No, yeah.
And he's like, oh, I gave him a smart answer, and he lost a hand, and he was like, fucking bitch. And then he grabbed my arm because he was like, not you. Like, I'm not saying you're a bitch. Like, but he, like, grabbed my arm, and he was drunk, and he was just strong. Like, he was, like, squeezing my arm. And I'm not freaking out, but she stops. She's, like, looking at me all wide-eyed. And I'm like, you have to let go of me. I'm like, look at me. Look at me. I'm like, you're cool. We're having a good time. We're having fun. Like, I don't care what you're saying to me, but you have to let go of me, because if you don't let go of me right now, security's going to come and you're going to get kicked out. Yep.
I've had those conversations.
He's like, no, but I just want you to, he's like, no, but I just want you to know that I wasn't calling you bitch. I was like, I understand that, but you have to let go of me right now. And the floor at the time was actually a good friend of mine, which we weren't supposed to be friends, obviously, because conflict of interest, but he was a good friend of mine. And he's like looking at me from afar, and I'm like, oh, like this.
Yeah, you're like, I got this.
I'm like, don't come over. Don't. He's like looking at me like this because he sees this guy like,
death gripping your arm,
death gripping me like so hard. And I was like, you have to let go of me. Like, I was like, look at me. And his friend was like, bro, like, dude, like, like, it's okay, just let her go, let her go.
Yeah, because now the friend's like, let's not get kicked out.
And I'm like, stop. And I'm like looking at him, and I grabbed his hands, and I just let him talk. And I was like, you're fine. I accept your apology. You have to let go of me. And then he let go of me, and we kept playing.
That is wild.
But that was like
insane.
That was the most wild story, because I was just waiting for someone to walk by to see it, to be and like,
it would have been game over,
and it would have been a wrap. But I was just like, you're having a good time. I'm having a good time. Like, I'm not taking any of this seriously. I didn't take you saying fucking bitch seriously. Right, yeah. Like, I know you lost a hand. Like, we're good, but you just can't hold me.
Yeah.
But those are my two main wild stories right now.
That happens a lot, where people are like, fuck you, fucking bitch. And a lot of the time, they're not talking to us. Right. It's not pointed towards us. Right. Most of the time. The one guy that I didn't deal to that kept slamming, he was cursing at me. Yeah. And I was just like, yeah, we're not going to do that. You're not going to curse at me. But I did have...
And same with my first story. The guy was definitely calling me those things.
Yeah. So at that point, we're done here. But there's this MMA fighter, and he came in, and I already know that, stereotypically, they have anger issues. Right. Not all of them, I know. But this guy for sure did. And he starts losing, and he starts saying, fuck you. And I go, hey, relax, right? And he goes, not you. And I go, I know. I literally,
but not everybody else knows. So you have to be careful.
That's exactly what I told him. I was like, because not everybody knows you're not saying that to me, and you're going to get kicked out.
Right. Because if my pit boss hears it, or if somebody walks by and they hear it, they're thinking you're talking to me. Exactly. And then you're going to get kicked out.
Yeah. Right. And that's what I told him. I said, hey, relax. And he said, not you. And I was like, I know you're not talking to me like that. First of all. Secondly, if somebody hears you, you're going to get kicked out. Do you want to get kicked out? And then he proceeded to lose all of his money and left on his own accord, but never said it again to me. And then I saw him again, sometime later, and did not mutter the F word once.
Yes. I had a lady play Texas Hold'em with me, and it was her and her husband. And they won like 5 hands, like good hands. Like, not just like, okay, you're winning. Like, they had like straights and flushes. Like, I was like, okay, you're getting a little extra money here. You're getting paid.
On UTH, yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And then she lost a hand. And she's like, oh, you fucking bitch. And I was like, But the way it sounded, like, you can tell if they're pointing it at you or if they're just saying it in the air. And I was like, I like questioned it.
Right.
I was like,
you do have to have that moment where you're just like, I'm gonna let you have that one.
Yeah. So I let it slide, and they lost the next hand, and they're playing table minimum. They're not playing crazy shit.
Oh, okay.
And she's like, "Fuck you," and I looked at her, and I was like, "Careful with your words." And she just like looked at me back, and then didn't say anything the rest of the time we played. So I was like, "Okay, so you were definitely saying that to me, and you were waiting to see if I was gonna say something back to you or not."
Yeah.
So I was just like, careful with your words. And then she was like looking at me, and I was looking at her, because I was like, clearly that's pointed towards me. You're not just saying it at fate or saying it at the cards or anything. And I was like, okay. But yeah, those are my crazy stories.
These are the types of players that we deal with. I mean, there's so much more. There's such a huge range.
A ton more, of players and crazy and
like one. Oh,
and we'll get into depending on the type of girl you are. It depends on the type of heat you get.
Honestly, because we're pretty good at dealing with tough people. Like I said, it doesn't faze me. You can curse me out all you want. I'm not gonna cry. I'm just gonna go have a good night, because you're getting escorted right out of. I guess that's the one good thing about being a dealer in general, is you're pretty safe. Like you're really safe being a dealer.
Right.
Like you're in a pit. You have so much security in the building. There's cameras everywhere.
Right. There is a lot of good security.
So maybe that's why I feel like I don't, I'm kind of like, I feel fine dealing with these type of people, because I can imagine if you're working at a McDonald's or whatever and you get people like that, you don't have the security we have like at a casino.
That's a good point.
So maybe that's why I feel a little bit more comfortable. I wouldn't feel like this in a different atmosphere, different industry, but yeah, there's so many stories. I'm sure
I know. I was like, we'll have to probably do another.
I mean,
one of just crazy stories we have, and I'm sure when we have guests on, we'll have to just make that a segment. Like every time we have a guest, we'll just be like, tell us your crazy story.
I mean, what I really want to talk about, maybe this will be the next episode, I'm not sure, but the working girls. I love our working girls. I love them so much. I do. I've never had a bad experience with a working girl, ever. If anything, they've helped me out.
Really?
Yes.
Really? I feel like I haven't had any personal experiences with a working girl while I've had a working one.
All right, we'll get into that in another episode.
But we'll have to do that.
We're going to do it in the next episode.
Okay. But
is that it for this one?
That is. So subscribe, follow, like, review.
Do all the things on all of the platforms. And don't forget, tip your dealers. Tip your cocktail waitresses. And don't walk through the pit.
Don't walk through the pit. Do not walk behind the tables.
Never. And we'll see you on the next one.
Yay.
Bye. I like how you clap every time.